On March 20, 1884, the bustling corridors of New York's Bellevue Hospital echoed with a shocking proclamation. Cocaine, the newly extracted leaf of the coca plant, was being hailed as a miracle cure for everything from chronic coughs to morphine addiction. In that same breath, physicians whispered of its power to awaken the spirit, to lift the pallor of melancholy, and to restore vigor to the ailing, claims that would soon cascade across continents, into lecture halls and onto the pages of medical journals. The story began half a century earlier, when the German chemist Albert Niemann first isolated the alkaloid from coca leaves in 1860. His work, published in the Journal of Pharmacology, described a white, crystalline powder that produced the remarkable stimulation of the central nervous system. By the 1860, European physicians were experimenting with the new drug, lauding its anesthetic properties and its ability to curb gastrointestinal spasms. Yet it was the daring optimism of the 1880 that transformed a curiosity into a household name. In the United States, the burgeoning field of pharmacology was hungry for breakthroughs. The nation was still reeling from the Civil War, and the specter of opioid dependence loomed large. Morphine, once a celebrated analgesic, had become a scourge for veterans and laborers alike. The medical community, desperate for an antidote, turned its gaze to cocaine. In 1884, the renowned physician and neurologist Dr. William S. Halsted, future pioneer of modern surgery, published a landmark article titled Cocaine, Its Therapeutic Value. Halsted proclaimed that a modest dose of the white powder could relieve the pangs of morphine withdrawal, restore appetite, and even act as a salve for the nerves. The promise of cocaine was not confined to the elite. By 1885, newspapers across America ran headlines such as "Cocaine, the new elixir for all ailments." Advertisements in the New York Times promised relief from headaches, sinus congestion, and nervous exhaustion. Patent medicines, often sold without regulation, boasted formulas like Coca Meditonics and Cocaine Elixir, a cure for all. In the streets of San Francisco and the parlors of Boston, the white powder was presented as a panacea, its risks minimized by the allure of immediate, euphoric relief. The first formal trial of cocaine as a treatment for morphine addiction took place at the New York State Asylum for the Insane in 1886. Led by Dr. George H. Stokes, the study enrolled 20 men who had been dependent on morphine for at least 3 years. Each subject received a daily dose of 2 grams of powdered cocaine, administered in a controlled environment while their morphine intake was gradually tapered. The results, published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, were striking. 12 participants reported a marked reduction in cravings, 5 claimed complete abstinence, and 3 experienced severe side effects, nausea, agitation, and in one case, a sudden cardiac arrhythmia that led to death. The tragic demise of patient Joseph Miller became the focal point of the medical community's uneasy debate. Miller, a 34-year-old laborer, had been a chronic morphine user since his service in the Spanish-American War. After 4 weeks on the cocaine regimen, he collapsed during a morning round. An autopsy, conducted by Dr. Charles H. Himes, revealed a swollen myocardium, extensive hemorrhage in the brain's subarachnoid space, and traces of cocaine metabolites saturating his blood. The report concluded that while the drug had indeed alleviated Miller's opioid withdrawal symptoms, the high dosage precipitated a fatal catecholamine surge, a storm of the heart, induced by the stimulant's unchecked action on the sympathetic nervous system. The Miller autopsy ignited a firestorm of controversy. In medical journals, voices rose both in defense and condemnation. Dr. Sigmund Freud, the young Austrian neurologist, published his seminal paper Über Coca in 1884, praising cocaine's euphoric and analgesic qualities while warning of its dangerous tendency to produce dependency. Across the Atlantic, the British Medical Association issued a cautious advisory, urging physicians to limit dosage and to monitor patients closely. In the United States, the American Medical Association, AMA, convened a special committee in 1888, which ultimately recommended that cocaine be restricted to surgical anesthesia and short-term treatment of specific conditions, such as nasal congestion. The ensuing years saw a gradual tightening of regulations. The 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act, spurred by public outcry over unlabeled coke in popular tonics, required manufacturers to disclose cocaine content on product labels. By 1914, the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act classified cocaine as a controlled substance, imposing strict licensing for medical use. The once celebrated miracle cure retreated from public view, relegated to the sterile confines of operating rooms, where its anesthetic power remained invaluable but its recreational allure was curbed. Yet the legacy of cocaine's brief medical renaissance endured. It sparked the first systematic investigations into drug addiction, laying groundwork for modern substance use disorder treatments. The Miller Autopsy, with its stark illustration of the fine line between therapeutic benefit and lethal toxicity, taught physicians the paramount importance of dosage, monitoring, and patient consent. Moreover, the fervent public enthusiasm of the 1880 served as a cautionary tale about the perils of unbridled optimism in pharmacology, a lesson echoing through the 20th century, as new compounds promised cures for everything from tuberculosis to cancer. Today, cocaine is primarily employed as a local anesthetic in ophthalmology and otolaryngology, its use confined to precise, low-dose applications. The story of its rise and fall remains a compelling chapter in the annals of medical history, reminding us that every miracle drug carries within it the seeds of both healing and harm. Subscribe to the Autopsy Files for more stories like this.